and welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is someone who thinks this movie rocks on so many levels. It's Nandi Boetis.
I love that line, and I love the fact that Roger Ebert gave this movie 0.5 out of 4, and that was like his line. Like, this movie sucks on so many levels.
It's brutal.
I love that line.
They were talking about it on the commentary, and the writer's like, I'm an idiot. I gave critics a line to use against me, and he said he'll never use that again. I just thought that was so funny. But I gotta tell you, when Janessa dies, I feel like a part of me dies, because she's such like a kind of a maniac in this movie. I like she's funny. Like, she's like, you hold him, I'll run. She's kind of
exactly.
I've never seen her in any other movies or any other shows, and I just think that Janessa is the best. Okay, so you just watched this a couple days ago. Like, what were your first thoughts?
Okay, well, I loved it because for me, I mean, I'm not the biggest Friday the 13th fan, just in the sense of that the first movies was kind of like a bit boring for me. Don't hate me, people. But yeah, I do know that a lot of people share that sentiment. So this was just straight up fun and bonkers. Like, I enjoyed it, and I love the fact that they didn't take it all seriously and like made fun of, their own franchise. All those like, kind of tropes that I like to see in especially franchise horrors. Yeah, I just thought it was a lot of fun. There were like things. So I love the fact that it's like, 2455, the year 2455. And, but somehow they're all clearly still wearing non-synthetic sheep wool clothing. It's amazing. Only like the android is looking a bit more sci-fi. I mean, you've got the nanotech, the regenerating nanotech and everything going. But yeah, we're still wearing sheep wool. I love the wardrobe. That's the thing though, like it's these little things, but I just found it like so enjoyable. It was just, part of the fun of it all. Yeah, it was a blast.
Well, Waylander's blue sleeveless vest is just absurd.
Adrian's little outfit, like with the wool top over the wool top, it's amazing. Wardrobe, it's amazing. It's inspiring, really.
And Rowan has just the odd, like the most mismatched colors. It's just a really interesting movie. And so I watched this in 2002. I saw it in the theaters. I remember, so this is when, like, by then we had Mummy, we had Deep Blue Sea, we had Phantom Menace, we had Sixth Sense, and I feel like technology had really stepped up a lot. So when I stepped into this movie, the wavelength missed me immediately. I'm like, this is dumb and cheap. Like, I really felt that way in 2002. I'm like, this looks terrible. But then years passed, and I started thinking about Jason. I started thinking about the screw death, when the person lands on the, I don't know, whatever it is, and just circles around.
Yeah.
Just this sucks on so many levels. And then I had to work on a bunch of assignments for it. So for Rotten Tomatoes, we did Jason versus Freddy versus Michael. And then for Film Theory, I wrote an article about how Jason Voorhees doesn't teleport. So I watched this movie again. And then for Fandom, I had to write a video about all of Jason's kills. And just watching this movie on repeat when I was older, that wavelength, like I connected with its wavelength. Like the cheeky, funny, like, you're not going to take an old dog down like that. Yeah, that'll do it.
That.
Like, just...
I had to rewind that part just to watch it again because I laughed so much. It's hilarious.
And he's like, thank you, but I could have had it. Like, my pleasure. It's such a silly movie. And I missed it in 2002. And now I absolutely adore this movie. I mean, it's 90 minutes.
Perfect.
That. And it's just cheeky. And it's... I don't know. I guess I missed it. And so now I just really love talking about this film. I don't know. I actually enjoy a lot of the Friday the 13th films because it's so scrappy. It's such a little odd franchise that just keeps going. And I really like it. Sorry.
Yeah, I think the more it goes, the better it really... The more it goes, the more I like it, really, because it goes into insane territories. I mean, Uber Jason, it's amazing. But like, I think you're part of like a lot of people, really, because I did read that. I mean, it's got like 19% on critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, and I did read that like it was only in later years that the younger fan base came in and started like pinting the movie, and I think people then again saw it with fresh eyes and was like, oh gosh, this is actually fun. I think, we might have been a teeny bit too serious still when we were young back in, those days. I only like watched it like, 2 days ago, but I mean, like I know how I reacted to a lot of movies that were more on the low budget, silly vibe because we were kind of in that The Matrix happened. So The Matrix kind of screwed us that now we were like expecting, okay, give us more of that. Wow, this is amazing. So I think, like after that, people were kind of expecting more from special effects and stuff. But yeah, I mean, for what this is, it's bloody fantastic. I just love the fact that let's make Jason a cyborg. Why not? Honestly, I don't want to make a movie about myself ever, but if that should ever happen, yes, we will totally go Uber Zaza. Totally.
Uber Zaza.
Love the idea.
And I love that Jason is already Uber, but then they make him an Uber Jason.
It's like, where can we take this guy? Oh no. And I mean, he looks like a big gorilla with that cyber suit thing. Oh wow.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I love the whole, going into the fight thing. I mean, I love the gag where, she like takes Robot Babe, takes his head off, and then like when he, morphs into Uber Jason, he just literally punches her head off. It's amazing. It's like, what a great gag.
She's like, you're going to want to go away. And it really brought back, you haven't watched it yet, but Jason Takes Manhattan, he fights a boxer and just punches the boxer's head off. So in this scene, when he just wallops her head off, and then, when KM-14 gets her head knocked off, and then good old Sunaran grabs her head, and then he's just carrying around her head for the rest of the movie. He's like, I'd clap if I could, and it's... Like, I'd clap if I could, and also, I gotta say, I like when you and I, let's see, you worked for Cracked, and then I worked for Cracked for a little while, just freelance for him, wrote some articles. I wrote about the unheralded heroes of horror, and I think Brodski is one of them.
Oh, yes, absolutely. What a great character. I also love it. I mean, the ending is hilarious, but yeah, no, he was great. I love that he was like the hero of the day,
He's amazing.
When he got killed, air quotes, like, I was like, no, don't do this. This movie isn't serious like this. So I was glad that was all the fake out.
Yeah, that'll do it. And then he comes back and he saves. I like that he helps KM-14. She's like, I got it, my pleasure. And then they heal him up. And then he has this Godzilla vs. Kong, which is what the directors called it, fight. But they had no budget. So that's why they just cut when they like.
They just cut.
It's the weirdest cut too, because they just walk into each other. If you and I fought,
exactly.
You and I would just start at either side of the room and walk into each other. Like that's their fight. And they also made fun of it in the commentary. When one of my favorite shots in the movie is when the ship blows up, when Grendel blows up, and Jason just starts flying towards the other spacecraft. Brodski comes out of nowhere. Like Brodski shot one way, then shot the other, which is I don't even understand
incredible.
it.
I mean, the space physics there is just incredible.
And then he takes Jason out, and then they both crash to Earth like a meteor and land in Crystal Lake. And the odds of that, wow. But just Brodski though, just putting on that, like Peter Mensa's huge, by the way. Like he was in that Spartacus movie.
Yes.
Like he's a badass. And so
yeah, totally. I love him.
They wrote the character Stone Cold Steve Austin, but they couldn't afford him. So
wow.
Yeah, so then they went and got Peter Mensa, but he's so good in this movie, and he's funny too. Like I think everyone in this cast gets the movie. Like I think I think Lisa Ryder, I think Peter Mensa, Lexa Doig as Rowan, they all get it. Like they all know it, and that's just.
They're in on it.
It's such I'm telling you, in 2002, and you're right, that's such a great point about The Matrix. And we also had Scream, which was like, I'm a precocious teenager who's actually 35, and I watched and I quote Psycho. It's I think by that time you're like, yeah, I'm hip, Alec. I'm cool, like yeah. And then
the era of the smart Alec, that was it.
Whoa, yeah. And then we even had like the rise of Apatow and his smart Alex and like sarcasm and pith. And then you get Jason X, which is very earnest. It's a very earnest little movie directed by, let's see, oh man, the guy James Isaac who directed it, he worked for Cronenberg, and he did the special effects on Existence, Virtuosity, Look Who's Talking 2, House 2, Enemy Mine. He was on the Creatures crew on Gremlins, and in Return of the Jedi, he was a creature technician, and he also worked on The Fly.
Yeah, dude.
Like this guy had a
He's
huge
done
amount.
some fun stuff, that's
Yeah.
for sure. Some really fun stuff.
Yeah, and they shot it in Toronto, and of course, they had Cronenberg's team doing the special effects, and so you get the ice smash, right? You get Jason getting
Yeah.
his face blown off, his leg blown off, his arm blown off. Like it's a fun, like the special effects in this movie are quite good. And you know what else I learned? This is really nerdy. There's a 33-minute making of documentary. They shot this on film, but then they immediately put it through, like they digitized it, and then it made the 200 VFX shots a lot easier to do and edit. So like this is when that was first starting, when they're like, oh, let's take film and digitize it. And I remember this movie looking kind of crisp. It looked sort of really clean to me, and that threw me off. But then they also said, like, we've already had Aliens, we've had Event Horizon. They wanted to make the ship livable. They wanted to make it comfortable. They wanted to make like a dorm room spaceship and make it
Yeah.
look differently than all the other films. So there was some pretty cool art decisions made about this movie, but of course that went way over my head in 2002. But I don't care. I love this movie. I adore this movie. Yeah.
So I'll be honest, when those two like basically walked into each other and we had the cuts and that was it for the final fight, my first reaction was, oh my gosh, they're gonna morph into each other and we're gonna have like a Jason Brodsky type situation, maybe even with Brodsky's head next to Jason's head on the body. My mind went there. Because this movie is so fun and bonkers that I could totally see them actually do that. Listen, as much as, I mean, I love the ending. I really, really do. I also love it that they take it like to Earth 2.0 and like with the young'uns at the lake. Oh, let's go check that out. And, kind of just starts it up again. I also love the VR addition to it. I thought that was so much fun.
Hilarious.
I quickly like read some stuff, that critics said about it after I watched the movie, and some people are like, it's still too stuck in the past. And I'm like, no, what a great way to like, again, bring the roots of Jason Voorhees into like, the whole thing. I mean, I thought that was actually so clever. I thought it was actually pretty fun writing. But yeah, I totally thought those two were going to morph and it's going to be like, Uber Jason Brodsky, like.
I mean, the people have worked with Cronenberg, and he's body horror, so that will absolutely would have happened. I'm surprised. The original script had Jason as more of like a Titan type of Jason, where he was fused with metal and flesh.
Yeah.
But then they got the guy who designed the suit did RoboCop, and that dude was like, no. So then he just went and made him look like leather and Jason, and I guess they put it together pretty cool. They use carbon Kevlar, they use foam, leather, silicone. It's a cool looking costume. And going back to that I love what you said about the VR. It was originally supposed to be him rescuing his mom from a lake, but then that was too expensive. Isn't that funny? Like he just gets on a boat and goes and saves his mom.
I love everything about this movie.
But then they couldn't get the mom. So then they needed an idea, and they're like, the director, everyone said this, the studio mandated them, like I don't know if you know this, like Valley Girl, the director of Valley Girl, she was talking about how the studio made her show 4 pairs of like breasts, so she did them all on the side really quick so that the studio could have their things. So that's what they asked of the director of this movie, and the casting director wouldn't do it, so they had to hire another casting director to bring them in, and they didn't want to make it gratuitous or like weird. So that's why they threw in the cheeky, like, do you want to have premarital sex? Like this.
Oh,
just
yeah.
make it,
We'll smoke pot. We love premarital sex.
like, they made it funny. Like, yes, it's gratuitous,
exactly.
and it is like a studio mandate, but, I mean, I'm
But
not
they're
like...
kind of doing it for a reason.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
why
yeah.
I don't think it's really gratuitous because they're doing it to make fun of like the whole setup of this bloody weird franchise.
And
I thought it was so funny and like that whole thing. And then you just cut and you see him like with the sleeping bags, like beating them up. Oh my word. No, it's been a while since I've had this much fun with a movie. I'll tell you that.
that makes me happy to hear. And just smash it. I think that's a callback from 6. Jason Lives, maybe, but he's just smashing the sleeping bags and he hits the tree. And I thought the two actors who did the camp counselors, they had fun with it too. Like they were very cheeky.
Yeah.
Like they enjoyed the role, and then even the dialogue, like about the premarital sex. Like I actually thought that was funny. That I was kind of like, this is funny. This doesn't feel... You're right. It doesn't.
Absolutely.
Like, of course, there's some gratuity to it, but there's a reason for it, and it's funny.
I
And
mean, the nudity was like what,
yeah,
4 seconds, 5
exactly.
seconds max. I mean, I wouldn't say that was too much at all. I
Mhm.
just, there was a reason to it. I mean, we've had nudity in this franchise.
Yeah,
It would
exactly.
be weird if it's a Jason movie without any. So, okay, let's give him the nudity, but let's totally take the piss out of it.
Oh,
I
it's
just thought that's how you do it. Like, I
so.
love it.
And then just, can we talk about, we've already covered it a little bit, but that sucks line. This sucks on so many levels. They wanted to have her get sucked out, but it was too expensive. But it's just just funny. It's a funny, like this, it's just fun. I've said it 8 times, but it's funny and it makes me laugh. Like this sucks on so many levels, and then she gets sucked out.
It's
Oh,
such a terrible pun, but it's also just brilliant because I think that's the thing. Like so many movies, like add the whole self-aware like vibe to it, and it doesn't work, and you end up eye rolling it. Not this. This is like, yes, it's needed for you're taking Jason into space. It's the year, like, what, again, 2455. And yeah, like, people are still idiots. And I mean, I just love all of it. It's great.
and I love what you said there because you can't have an Alien or Event Horizon with Jason. Like, that's because it's so
No,
inherently silly. So just make it
exactly.
silly.
Exactly.
And boy, is this movie silly. And also too, I like Rowan in this movie because in the beginning she sort of captures Jason, but then she gets stuck. And then I like that she jumps up and tries to save KM, and then she goes back for KM's head. Like, I know she's not given any time for like character development, but I still like Rowan in this movie. Like, I know their names. Like, I don't know the name of. I watch 99% of the movies I watch. I forget the characters' names.
Oh, yeah,
Truth.
same.
But in this movie,
Yeah.
I'm talking about Rowan and Janessa and Brodski and Azrael and it's KM. Like all these characters like that. I could Alice maybe isn't a character from a Friday the 13th movie, but for some reason they're so memorable to me. I don't know. I just like them. I like this cast.
We should do a minute by minute pod series on Jason X, like what we did with Deep Blue Sea. That would be so fun.
If you want to do it,
I'm up for it, 100%.
we could build up. Like we could just build it slow over a year.
Exactly.
So we don't have to keep coming back and recording minutes. And
There we
then,
go.
because this movie's fun. I've said,
Dude,
if
so
there's
much
a
fun.
drinking game, just drink every time I say fun. But also, if you want to watch Jason X and do a drinking game, drink every time the characters fall on the ground when the camera shakes and characters have to fall.
Yes.
Because they're
Great falling. Some stellar falling.
they're always just dropping, and it makes me so happy.
Or every time Yanissa screams something in her exasperated voice. Oh, she's fun. But yeah, no, all the characters are. I also liked Adrian. Like, at first, she just looked like, okay, it's supposed to be this blonde scientist girl.
Yeah.
But then she gets all, like, precious about Jason and she's cutting him open. Oh, you poor baby. Yeah, but I think KM is probably my favorite. Like Robot Babe's my favorite. Like when she like comes out all, KM 2.0 and starts shooting the shit out of Jason. Like you can see how she's enjoying it so much. It's like, oh, there it is, killer android, and she has arrived. I was kind of like, is she gonna turn on everyone? Like, is she gonna kill her boyfriend?
Oh, is she gonna go alien? Who's the guy from Alien who turns?
Oh yeah. In Prometheus, what's his name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
David, yeah. From
David.
Prometheus. Yeah. No, she just is cool. And then she has all the
She's so
bullets
cool.
and throwing
Oh my
spin
gosh, I love
kicks
her.
and I love
And
the
that
shooting
face.
too.
Lisa Ryder plays the heck out of this character. I think she probably had the most fun because you can see it on her face. Like, oh yeah, no.
That's not acting.
And also nice to see, like it's what a 2002 movie with an android with so much expression and emotion going on. It's refreshing.
And her and I always mess up his name. Sunaran, right? Sunaran?
Yeah.
Like they seem to actually like each
sure.
other. They make fun of him, but they seem to be buds, those two. So it's even kind of less creepy, their relationship. But just like he's carrying her head around, I could clap. Oh gosh, that's so silly. But she looks cool when she's shooting those guns. Like But also, she knew about Resident Evil, I think. She knew about Matrix, so she took it seriously. And she's like spin kicking him. And, like, but you know what's kind of crazy is, like, Jason gets put through the works on this one. I mean, he gets his leg blown off, arm blown off, face blown off. And
Frozen, number one.
What's up?
Frozen.
Oh, yeah, Frozen. Yeah, in the beginning, he gets caught. And then he gets blown up. And then he gets revitalized. But then Waylander shoots him out of nowhere. And then he disappears for a while. And then... let's see, Brodski gives him a battle. Like, Jason gets worked in this film.
Absolutely, yeah. No, they come for him. I love it. It's fun action. I also just want to, like, another moment that I really liked is when they found Jason and Rowan, like, in the, cryogenics chamber or whatever. Cryogenic chamber? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it starts to, like, everything starts to kind of unfreeze and Jason falls over and the machete just cuts Azrael's, like, I mean, Jason is frozen and he's still cutting up people. I laughed at that too because it's so funny.
They can they can put your arms back. And then, so I guess that's a good AI callback then. You know that the nanotech can save you.
But again, we're still on cheap wool. I mean...
and I love when Brodski's getting brought back to life. They're like, yeah, he'll be fine in like 3 seconds. And Janessa's like, he's so strong.
He's so strong. But then, like, a minute after that, he's like, something about the ship is bleeding. And she's like, no!
Yeah.
She's so dramatic. I love it. I think the moment I saw her outfit, I immediately went to, like, 90s movies like The Craft and all of that because it's got very that vibe.
Wow.
So yeah, the fact that they made her character so fun, she felt to me like she stepped out of the 90s, which totally worked.
Yeah, out of Clueless and into this.
Yeah, exactly. Like, well, Clueless, Clueless with more terrible fashion.
Well, I like The Craft too. Yeah.
With the fashion peeps, like.
Just stepped out of The Craft and walks in. Yeah, because that shirt is ridiculous. And it's
what is that?
Like the sheep's wool and just beautiful. The odd clothing. And I love, too, when Waylander goes, if you're not here in 30 minutes, don't come. And she's like, screw that. You need to get here. Like, he's being all noble. And she's like, nah. It's all good. Keep coming. But, yeah, I'm so glad we talked about this. And are you going to watch any of the later ones now? Like, are you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm planning to do for the rest of the weekend is catch up on my later Jason movies. Jason Takes Manhattan is next up.
Oh, yeah.
So,
that one's gnarly.
So that I can finally get the reference with the boxer.
Oh, man, that one's crazy. And Freddy vs. Jason I'm not really a fan of because it's so...
Really?
It is
I love it.
2000s to me. And it's just, I don't...
Oh, I enjoy it.
It's so, like, I mean, I like the final fight. You know what? I think what it is I'm not a Freddy Krueger guy.
I mean, same. I'm not the biggest fan, but again, I like Freddy vs. Jason just because it's so ridiculous. It's these franchises that I'm not the biggest fan of that made these ridiculous, like, movies, and that I actually enjoy. I don't know if that's weird, but yeah, I think, again, it's this whole thing of not taking themselves too seriously. I just laugh my way through them. And I mean, like, that's why we love watching movies that make us feel good. It's like when we could just laugh. Yeah. I like it.
Somebody wrote the other day that their feel-good movies recently are Malignant, they said Megan, and Barbarian. Like, if they need to feel good, they watch those 3 movies. But I get it. Like, when I watch Malignant, I have the biggest smile on my face. I don't think I could be happier.
I know you are a big fan.
I think I've covered it 3 times on the podcast. Like, I just did Norbert and I recorded an episode like a month or 2 ago about it. So I might just keep covering that movie until then. But yeah,
I love it though. I mean, I can see that. Like, I haven't watched Barbarian again, and I think I will definitely enjoy it more this time because I love that movie. It's my favorite movie of the year. Like, movie. That and Banshees. It's like tied in first place. Favorite 2022 movie. I just mean that I was so scared that first act, watching it the first time. Now I won't be because I know what's coming. So yeah, I can totally actually see that being like all 3 of those are good feel-good movies, I think. I mean, as long as you don't tell me your feel-good movie is Terrifier 2, then I'm fine. Like.
Run away! All right, so before we get out of here, favorite moment of this final fight, starting when KM goes after Jason. Oh, we didn't talk about how he throws a machete into her chest and you think the fight's over
Oh
immediately.
yeah, like the whole fake out, like
Oh, it's
I
beautiful.
think Yanessa was like, I couldn't remember who said, well, that didn't go well.
Oh, I love it. All right, favorite moment. Favorite moment of this fight.
Oh, it's so hard to choose, but I think it's probably where Jason just knocks her head off. I mean, I laughed so hard because I was like live texting you while I'm watching it, and I'm like, yeah, Robot Babe took his head off, woo! And then like, yeah, minutes after, it's like, oh gosh, there goes her head. What a great gag. I love that.
Just punches that off. I think it's when Brodsky, so Jason's in a straight line. Brodsky
Oh
got
yeah.
shot like completely out of the way. Then I think he had to have traveled, triple the distance of Jason, but he somehow course corrected and caught Jason just in time to take him to Earth. And then when he's on top of Jason and they are flying down to Earth, he punches Jason in the back of the head. Like,
Yes, I love that. Like it doesn't stop. They don't stop. It's a fight through space. It's incredible.
Beautiful. This was great. Hey, well, thank you so much for this impromptu episode, and thank you to David Cross for actually telling me about Friday the 13th, because David and Cross and I, we've talked a lot of we watched the entire Friday the 13th franchise, and we recorded instances of everything, and then we figured out that Jason Lives is the most Friday the 13th movie. So and then we did an episode about that. So thank you, David Cross, for letting me know about this, and thank you, Zanandi, for watching the movie and then joining me. This is great.
Thanks for recommending it. I had such fun.
I love this movie. All right, so where can people find you real quick?
Oh, on Twitter. I'm on Twitter. It's Nani on Twitter. Cool.
Cool. All right, so for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, for Zanandi Boetas, this is Movies, Films, and Flicks. We'll see you next week.